Well, it's another video in the solutions series, this time on the subject of the internet and more specifically internet navigation. It's a subject I've been writing on and fighting with some people about for years, almost a decade now actually. So there's a website, DoNotGod.com. I haven't updated it in about a year or more, but it sort of has the old stuff on there. You know, the internet isn't, in my opinion, even close to what it should be. It's, you know, I use the terminology that it should have been the greatest line straightener in the history of mankind. It should have straightened the line between production and consumption. Consumers should have enabled consumers to buy directly from producers to avoid marketing expenses and middleman expenses and reseller expenses and all the rest that goes with that. But unfortunately, the old style economy basically seized control of the internet and just installed all the crooked lines right back into the system. There's so many ways to... I've never, you know, been able to make the argument convincing enough to get any momentum for any real changes, or even the simple ones I'm thinking would make a radical, profound difference. My analogy would be that just as we have public libraries, and then private bookstores, we should have a public library version of a search engine. We should have some search mechanism on the internet, some navigation mechanism that is as pure and uncorrupted as a public library. Instead, we have Google and Yahoo, these billion-dollar companies, marketing companies. They sell advertising. That is how they make 99% of their money. Running the internet, basically deciding what you can access on the internet, how you will access it. And there's all kinds of ironies in the story of, the history of internet navigation. I mean, how Yahoo started in a college dorm, and Google did the same. Basically, it was Stanford University financed Google for the first few years, and the two, Einsteins that figured out this popularity search engine, they actually quoted, early on as stating in gloating about Google and how wonderful it was, that that there needs to be this is a paraphrase, but it's pretty much the exact quote, there needs to be a non-commercial alternative to the current search engines. And that was their defense of Google. And then they basically 2 years later or so, sold out for billions of dollars and turned Google into a commercial search engine. And so the alternative became exactly what people were avoiding. Google got popular because it was free and fast and didn't have all the marketing overhead of all the other search engines, and so it basically seduced everybody into using it. The other search engines faded away because they couldn't make any money, and so Google became dominant by giving away the service basically, and now got its ads everywhere. It's paying people to put ads on their websites. It's paying to create as much chaos and marketing nonsense as imaginable. I mean, there's actually people can make money creating false websites just because they can put advertisements on there that will generate revenue. And it's all about eyeballs, and people talk about how awful it would be if there was a sales tax on the internet, but the joke is that there already is a huge sales tax on the internet. The whole, and I say it consumes all the efficiency of the internet. This tax is so high because the average business has to pay real money just for you to click on a link. The average price now probably at Google for one of those sponsored links is probably $1 a click. And so you've got to figure that for every view that goes to a website, for every eyeball they get there, it's going to cost the company $1. And if they only get one sale per 10 people that visit the site, you're talking about $10 in overhead just to get a sale. And obviously that's going to hurt consumers. Consumers are paying that price. And so, people can, there are, I would suppose that a lot of people on YouTube are going to be in, technology businesses, and so certainly they're going to be making money off this marketing game. So I'm probably going to get some grief for making this video. But there's just all kinds of, they're not cottage industries, they're rackets. Okay, they're snake oil. And you have all kinds of people making money optimizing websites, as they call it. They call it search engine optimization. And it's this idiotic competition to basically play the search engine algorithms. And an algorithm is basically just the software program that calculates how to rank websites when you do a search on a term. And they're playing that system, and so they load websites with keywords. They create artificial sites to link to each other to gain artificial popularity. It's just a lie and a racket, and they justify it as if this is some sort of honest competition, and where the cream will rise to the top. And the fact is the fat rises to the top. And the whole system becomes inefficient, and we don't have that straight line that theoretically we should have. So like I said, I don't know why there's more resistance than there really should be, because some people really should be able to appreciate that we should be making a public investment in the internet, and the best place to make that investment would be navigation. I mean, it is the key component of the internet. The whole internet functions based on that. And there's so many ways you can see the flaws. I mean, you've done searches, and 8 or 7 out of 10 of the top 10 results won't be of much use. There'll be some directory site that isn't the real site. They're just sometimes it can take you 3 links before you can actually get to the site you intended to get to, because they've created these fake and false sites. And then if you look at local search, I mean, a small business in a community has absolutely no incentive to invest in the internet. I've worked with a lot of businesses, and I try to create a website for them as cheap as possible, and even if I can do it for a couple $100, there's no real point, because I can't even get a return of that much investment. I mean, that's how useless the internet is in terms of any kind of local search. There's just nothing out there that does any good whatsoever. And it's all because of this unwillingness to rationally index the internet, this unwillingness to create any added value, any extra information. And I'm not talking about censoring anything. I'm not talking about abridging anyone's freedoms. I'm just talking about adding an extra component. A library doesn't suspend a person's right to write books. It doesn't suspend their right to sell books. All it does is provide a public alternative to having to pay $30 for a book. And it's a rational and reasonable way. The internet is a valuable resource. It is an educational resource, and we really got to think of it that way. And we've got to create incentives for people to create content. And if they can't get their content, if their content is going to be effectively invisible, they have no incentive to create it and no incentive to put it on the internet. And so then we all lose. We don't gain anything from that, and on top of it we pay this billions and billions of dollars a year on marketing, something that gives us nothing in return. We don't gain anything for that expenditure. It's just a tax. It's the middleman tax.